Hello, my name is Linda Vero, and I'm on the board of directors of the Santa Rosa Symphony League. And today, I'm going to be driving to the Santa Rosa workshop of local violin maker Andrew Carruthers. Now, Andrew is working on a very special instrument, which he calls the Redwood Violin project, because all of the materials he's using for this violin are sourced right here in Sonoma County. So you could say Andrew has created a love letter to our community. So let's go meet Andrew. Good morning, Andrew. Thank you so much for allowing me to come in here and film this interview. I'd like to get started by finding out if you feel comfortable letting our viewers and followers learn a little bit about who you are.
Sure. So, well, I'm from England. I've been in the country since 1980, and I'm a violin maker, and I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I went to school in Wales, and after the schooling, I moved to Chicago, where I did an apprenticeship with a large violin dealer, and that was another 3 years, and I moved back to the West Coast, Seattle, and then down to Santa Rosa, and been here since about 95, I think, and for most of those years I was working doing restoration on big restoration projects for dealers, working on old violins and cellos, and half of my time I was also making new instruments, my own new instruments, and then a few years ago, when my kids were out of college, I was able to quit doing the restoration and just concentrate on making new instruments, and that's what I've been doing since.
Well, that's very interesting, and I appreciate you giving us that insight. And this is amazing. I'm looking around at, it looks like you've got something in the works there on your workbench. And speaking of something in the works, I wonder if you could take a moment and talk to us about the Redwood Violin project.
Yeah, so this is an idea that I first had about 5 years ago, and it started small. I just wanted to make, I've always been interested in the very basic processes of the things that we use, like how is varnish made, how is glue made, and I thought, well, maybe it would be possible to make a violin completely out of local materials and do as much of the work myself. So instead of buying glue, I would make the glue myself. And instead of importing wood from Italy and from Africa and from all over the place, I was wondering if it would be possible to do it with all locally sourced materials. And then the idea grew and grew to include, to record it, and probably just write a blog is what I was thinking to start with. Record all the processes, but also record all of the people that got involved in the project, because I would be going out and finding these materials. And then I thought, well, it'd be interesting if, for instance, I was to use apple wood. It would be interesting to make a portrait of the apple industry and the history of it in this area. And so the project gradually evolved to become more about being a portrait of the area than necessarily being about the process of making a violin. And then we started thinking about, well, maybe we should video this, and that's when things started getting complicated. The videoing is a lot more difficult to organise than just writing about stuff yourself. Anyway, I was busy with my regular work at the time, so that sort of dropped by. But when COVID came and we had a little extra time, this idea came back to me, and I mentioned it to Aaron Westman, who runs one of the youth orchestras connected with the symphony, and he got very excited about it. And we talked about, I thought that it would be nice to, when I was finished with this violin, to donate it to the youth orchestra, so that they could play on it, you know, going forward. And when I was talking to Aaron, we thought, well, it'd be great if they would play on it as well. And he said there's actually some very talented young composers in the group at the moment, and they might be interested in composing something. So that's the idea so far, is that we'll make this, we'll put this instrument together from locally sourced materials and tell the story about where everything came from, and just try and highlight all of the talent and you know, the resources that we have in this area.
And one thing, when I first met you, it was during a Zoom meeting,
Yeah.
and you were talking to members of our Santa Rosa Symphony League, of which of course I'm a member. I'm also on the board of directors. And you were talking to various members and other people involved with music education for the youth in our community. And I believe it was Wendy who mentioned something about this whole process would be an educational tool for education for the young people in our community. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how this whole process would work as an educational tool.
Yeah, I would, I'd like to make you know, the process available for any of the kids to come and, you know, drop in and see what's going on. Anyone who's interested, and I think again the same thing. I think the message is that, you know, we can do good, high-level, interesting stuff right here at home, and we don't necessarily have to be looking outside to be bringing, you know, bringing talent in, or always thinking that we need to be, you know, working to do something on a national level. You know, working at home and for a local audience is a very valuable thing.
Well, I think that's great. So, I think that you've given us a wonderful preview of the Redwood Violin project, and we're all very excited about that, because this would be an opportunity for our talented young musicians to actually play the instrument, which I think is great, that you've created from all the locally sourced materials, and also the educational aspect where the kids could drop in from time to time with their teachers or their parents, and they could watch the process. They could actually watch you creating this violin and the process that goes into that. I think that's really great. And again, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me today. And I'll be following up on this. I'll come by from time to time with your permission.
Great.
If we can set that up, and we'll just record the entire process. So anyway, once again, thank you so much.
Well, that's great. And before you go, I'd like to say a special thanks to the Symphony League, because they've been very supportive and in just setting this project up, and exploring, you know, ways that we could particularly record it. Not all the ideas came to fruition, but it's given us a solid basis of, you know, what is possible, and I really appreciate the support.
Well,
enthusiasm.
Well, we certainly appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we will meet again. Thank you so much.
Thanks.